Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to this brand new era. The points that I'm going to make with you today will reflect probably the next 25 years or more. So as a result, do make your comments on this channel. Do subscribe and of course do liken it. And if you don't like it, help yourself, put the thumbs down. But the point is, this is a public information broadcast. And as I will go through these bullet points in a methodical manner, and thereafter I will try to paraphrase every topic that I have, so I may reach as many of the population as I possibly can. Sorry, I mispronounced the word. I will try to reach as much of the general public as possible on a global scale. For myself, I've been waiting on this era all my life, and I'll be celebrating every moment of it, as well as educating the general public as to the power that they have. The judges, the other Federal Postal Court judges, are with you in the comments box, as well as the clerks. And they're here to aid you to answer those questions that you're asking. Make it realistic. Make those comments make those comments so you feel empowered. I sometimes get very emotional. As a result, some of my words run away with me. So I will try to calm myself down and explain as much as I can. And as I said, I will paraphrase. Later on, within this talk, a friend of the Postal Court judges, as well as the Postal Courts, will be also sharing a few words with you, called Irene. And she'll come on later on. But for this moment of this presentation, it's about what is going to happen in the next 25 years that I know of. It may last 1,000 years, I do not know. But certainly as the timelines go, I feel comfortable in telling you 25 years or more. On November, the US will have their traditional voting. I say voting, not election, because the fiction people do not have the power or the knowledge to be electing people. So they are given a corporate instrument called voting. So on that period, whom you call Donald Trump will run for election again. And what will happen in that election, you need to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. There will be a dispute. Now, I'm quite happy to put my words online right now. So if I get it wrong and if I mess up, I take responsibility. But just as I am willing to put my money where my mouth is, and so it is for me to make these broadcasts and make these claims. When that election runs, that voting system runs, there will be a dispute. And in that dispute, they will begin to count the postal votes, just as they did at the Chad elections in 2000, when George Bush, the minor, was disputing whether there was a genuine voting or not taking place. What was happening within that 90-day period is that they were transitioning from a constitution-based landmass called the United States of America into a corporate instrument which George Bush was the president of. George Bush the minor. But of course the general public is not aware of this because the education level and the reading levels are so poor that they cannot grasp these timelines and the words that come out of these politicians and the timelines that you do your banking on and that you do your voting on. People are not aware of these timelines. The 90-day rule, the 1 year, 1 day rule. As a result, I'm educating you as much as I can. So look out for that dispute. What does it mean to the United States citizens? This is what it means. It means they will be coming out of the corporate instrument called voting, and they will be moving into constitution. Even though it is written in Babel, I'm letting you folks know how things are going to be rolled out. Yes, Donald Trump will dispute it, saying the postal votes may not be that accurate. But that is all just a disguise to let you know they're going to follow the 90-day rule. And the general public, so therefore it is up to you to share this video. That you are, even though it's in Babel, are going to be walked into a constitution as to a corporate instrument. Giving you a lot of power. Giving you a lot of rights that were taken away from you under the anti-terrorist legislations. While that period is happening, for the next 7 years or more, yes, there will be a housing market crash. Yes, it is your choice whether you wish to partake in the mortgages, which is called the debt pledges. That is your right to do so. That's your choice. But if you want out of that system, you just have to contact the Federal Postal Court judges. The website that you're seeing at the bottom of the scroll bar. The Chief Federal Postal Court judges are also on standby for these things. So the housing market is normally a barometer as to how well your economy is doing. We all know that. In the US it was mainly shares, but they transitioned out of that nearly about 20 years ago. There is at the moment the stock market, which does not reflect the dire straits that is happening on a global scale. These are called zombie corporations. The governments, which is another word for the IMF family, International Monetary Fund, International Settlement Fund, with their fiction currencies and etc., that is keeping the market buoyant by buying stocks and shares that are zombified. In other words, they have no value. So I beg your pardon, in other words, they have no value. The volume is just created by buying those stocks. Let's imagine that you have a company that does a particular service, a service that's no longer needed, but the employees are retained. Even though the shares are going down and down, and they're plummeting, the market makers are buying up those stocks to make it look like it's a buoyant market. After November, ladies and gentlemen, when your mortgage furloughs come to an end, you will see the tragic consequences of the fiat-based, interest-based economy, which is really another word for an economy of lies. What does that mean? You know, when you invest in stocks and shares, you are pricing what the value of the stock is. Stock is what you physically have. And a share is what you physically have of a company. That is easy enough to calculate. But the fiction calculators add what is called sentimental value. For example, this watch may cost only $60, but the sentimental value that I put on it is a few hundred million. That is what is confusing the stock market. Remove the sentiment out of it. See the stock for what it really is. Stock quite literally means the barrels, the stock, the physical stock, whether it's pencils, whether it's books, whether it's cars, engines, minerals, have a worth, but not sentimental worth. And those kind of nonsenses are all going to be changing after November. The fiction's ability to sell you sentimental value is coming to an end. And after that period, even though you will not be told direct, but you will be told indirectly that you guys are going to be economic sovereign, trade partners. What does that mean? Not sovereigns outright. Even I am not a sovereign outright. What that means is that economically, your ability to buy and sell things is going to be gold-backed. The currencies of the world are going to become gold-backed, but you won't see it or hear it directly. But it will leak out on the November period in the US elections. And then it will migrate over 4 years to the next election, when they will tell you our currencies globally are going to be gold-backed, which means that you guys are going to be sovereigns, economic sovereigns. Like, for example, these gold bars, they are troy ounces. These gold bars do not go up or down in value. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they do not go up and down in value. What goes up and down in value is your ability to buy into the gold and silver and how much of the fiat currency you need to be able to buy into the gold and silver. In other words, it is the price of fiat currency that fluctuates. So, I'm telling you now, even though the current price of gold is going up and down, it is on an upward spiral. Where it will end is how many of these countries will go into gold-backed currencies, which I am sure will be global. I think I have said quite a lot in terms of what is an economic sovereign. It means the trade prices will be more stable, less open to fluctuation and manipulation by the market makers. That is that. Wanting to elaborate a little bit more, when George Bush Minor took up office, as it were, as the president of the corporation, they did away with what is known as self-evident. As in, it is self-evident I am who I say I am. It is self-evident that you are, but not in the corporate world. And that is why for the last 20 years or so, you folks out there have had life virtually impossible. Your ability to buy into the economy has gone down so badly that you are constantly in a perpetual state of debt. The start of what it means to be a sovereign means your ability to hold a stable currency, which is commonly known as God's money. Even though God is just a fiction name, not the creator. Let's call it creator's money or currency. The promissory notes that you have in your pockets, well, they'll start to vanish. Full stop. The other subject that I want to make it very clear to you is that already one or two of your presidents are beginning to say that the babies that are born live will be treated with dignity, and so on and so forth. What they're really talking about when they use this language, and the link for that is within that comment box, is that they're saying that the babies that are born are no longer going to have a death certificate. They are going to have a live birth. Not a live-life claim, because that carries a whole different jurisdiction, which, thanks to David Wayne Miller, we safeguard. I am the guardian for it. So, as the cameraman pulls focus, these are not made-up documents. You guys don't have this called a live birth. What you have is just a record of some commercial transaction. And I suggest you look carefully at it and who has autographed it. Without your live-life claim, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to be much of a sovereign, because you are dead on paper. And if you are dead on paper, you are dead on contract. And your ability to make contract or your claims is null and void. And that is unfortunate, because that's the level of brainwashing that the human beings on this planet have. And the small majority that know about these things, well, they flourish. My job is to educate you as a plenipotentiary judge, as well as a chief federal postal court judge. So as I have told you, you will be issued, the newborn babies after November will be issued with live births. Look after it, and if you see it within yourself, and since it's a government issue, it's government property, my court system issues its own live-life claims for your babies as well as for yourselves to come into the jurisdiction of the flags and the language that we control. The second topic that I wish to speak to you about is the wealth of business opportunities that's going to be there for you, that's going to partake in this brand new economy, in this brand new commercial enterprise, and whatever 1,000 words we can use to describe economic freedom. And I've done many videos on this already, and so have many other people. I'll just read out to you what I've got here, then I'll paraphrase it. Under the new rule of business, so listen carefully. Listen. Most people do not have the ability to listen. They have an internal voice. So I'm telling you sincerely, as a person that knows what he's talking about, shut up. Zip your mouth. Turn off that noise in your head and listen. Under the new rule of business, interest rates are a matter of choice on your part. By law, no bank, no credit card loan can collect interest from you. They can only lend you gold-backed money for a set period of time, and or ask for fair market percentage of the profits that you make from the monies that they lend you through the gold-back system. But they cannot charge you interest. But if you wish to go for that, and you feel that you don't have the power to do such things, then that's your choice. And then you remain in fiction. Full stop. I want to make it very clear. If you partake in interest, that is your choice. If you wish to negotiate your terms and conditions, periods of those loans, percentages of the profits, that will make you a negotiable instrument. That will make your business a negotiable instrument. And if you have the ability to negotiate, you have the ability to do business. So, let me repeat that again. If anybody lending you money charges you interest, they've already broken the law. If you pull them up on it, if you question them on it, 3 times you have to question them on it. If they haven't, you can start prosecuting. And if you have the ability to negotiate what type of loan period you want and what type of percentage that they're looking for, as long as you are holding on to their principal, which must be gold backed, not fiat, then you have entered the world of business. And negotiation, ladies and gentlemen, is better than conflict. Hopefully, I have made it very clear. This is not an interest-based economy. This is no longer going to be an interest-based venue. It is going to be a place where they can ask for their money back at a set period of time and ask to share in some of the profits that you make while you hold on to the principal of that money. And if it's not gold back, then they have already violated banking rules. These are the very old mechanisms that were in place before the corporate instruments and the corruption took place. Hopefully, I have made that very clear to you. The third topic that I wish to talk to you about is communication. The entire surface of this planet will become in communion with each other. In other words, to be able to talk. In doing so, when you bring people together, commerce evolves, takes on a whole new world, because the middleman is starting to vanish. The transportation systems of this world, once the corona period, the virus as it were, which is mental, it's a mental state of condition to have a virus. It's always been diagnosed as a mental condition. A biological virus is nothing more than a piece of genetic code that has been rejected by your cell, that is now in your bloodstream to be purged and taken away. These half-witted organizations pick up those RNA strands and try to patent it and call it a disease. The medical technologies that will be coming to you via Russia, China, as well as a few other countries will be staggering. They will implement what is known as longevity. For those people that can see themselves out of the pharmaceutical industry, which by definition and by their own contract, it's a maker of poisons and potions. That's what pharmaceutical means. They calibrate poisons and potions. Potions is wizardry. Look it up. Do not take my word for it. These technologies, transportation, communication, longevity, using the natural herbs that are available, that's what it's about. You know that and I know that. Will touch every corner of this planet. The 4 corners of this planet, which is another word for a document called the 4-corner rule. Now, I think it is time for me to introduce Irene, who's a friend to the postal court systems throughout the world. She's a wonderful lady and a friend of mine. So I'll hand it over to Irene.
No, thank you, Mark. Hi, everybody. My name is Irene Elizabeth Bertie Gibney with a full stop at the end. The reason for the full colon is that it makes me a fact. We are now living in the world of fact and not in the world of fiction. Here is a copy of my Live Life claim, which proves that I am a fact and not dead on paper. I am telling the whole world and the half-witted courts with their fictitious judges and the prostitutes, also known as solicitors, who frequent the courts, that you are going to be stopped and corrected. We are in a position of zero tolerance. Thank you. And now I will say it in my native tongue as Gaeilge from Ireland, or Éire. Díaghuite Carja, Umlan Colin Irene, Flashin Elizabeth, Umlan Colin Bertie, Umlan Colin Gibney, agus le Lánstead ag an deire is anam done. Is se an cús atá leis an Umlan Colin, nó go dhéanann sé féric dom. Tá míad ag marachtal inis I saoil go devan, agus ní an now an fishin. Seo ceop de mellah saoil bio cruhín brega freisin gur féric mé, agus ní marmh fápéir. Táim ag rá leis an down fad, agus leis na cuairteanna le cliste go léir, léine breine úna brega, agus leis na prostaí a dugtar a tornathe, hagan go minic, sna cuairteanna, go bhfuil tú chun stop agus ceartú a dhéanamh. Tá míad I richt gan lábhaltas. Go raibh míle maithagat.
Thank you very much, Irene.
Thank you.
As you heard, ladies and gentlemen, it is zero tolerance of these people, if we can call them people, of these subspecies that have hoodwinked us. Yes, I have been part of that victimhood, if you like, of falling for their false claims until I decided to fight back, until I stopped and corrected them. And what did I find? Featherless chickens, featherless canaries is all that they were. We are living in a brand new world, brought to us by wonderful people like David Wayne Miller and his technology. And there are others who bought peer-to-peer transactions. And in this sense, I feel that I am doing the right thing by David Wayne Miller and by the people, as well as all these wonderful people that have done these things for us. As I have said, I'm going to enjoy every moment of my life. And I'm going to enjoy every moment of stopping and correcting those fictitious nonsenses that are out there. And every single individual on this planet that doesn't want to experience victimhood, I suggest you pick up the pen and not go out in the streets and riots, because that's the loser's game. Don't go protesting, following people like the Arfwits that go to Trafalgar Square, follow a particular ex-football player who's got you convinced that the whole world is going to collapse. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's the direct opposite. I don't like to mention names, but I'm almost tempted to do so, but I won't. But I think you guys know who I'm talking about, and the individuals out there that like to, shall we say, mislead people. You go onto my website and you'll see things there that they don't ever want you to know about. Hence they get you to protest. Once you protest, you acknowledge that they have power. You've given them consent. I, being an 80s boy and a child during the 70s, heard a particular song by the Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen, and her fascist regime. And within those two verses, the whole of that era gave up their sovereignty, their contracts, to a fictitious queen that has nothing to offer. Just by that, listen to the words. That was all done under trickery. If you think that you are not a spiritual being and you have no more bigger evidence of spirituality but the hand that you have and your ability to write contract, that is spirit, ladies and gentlemen. Can't get more concrete than that, can you? But of course, if you convince a person that the spirit is a supernatural thing and that is not a physical body and your ability to claim what is yours, like your children and your contract and your homes, then you go off into a neverland where there is no end, where it's just an open-ended journey. All that is your ability to stop doing right now. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be broadcasting a few days before the US elections, just to keep you guys up to date what is happening in the world. For those people that want to be debt-free, those people that don't want a death pledge in your life called a mortgage, launch the complaint. The federal judges on a global scale have the ability to stop and correct that and award your home as yours, free from these death pledges. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me. Until then, I'll see you folks on the first week or the second week of November. Bye-bye now.